I love me a good first-person shooter, and of course I love the Switch. Now one might say that there is hardly any first-person shooters on the console, but trust me, they are there, and Switch owners do have access to some really good ones. In today's video, I'm taking a deep dive into the Switch library, and I've compiled a list of what I think is the top 10 first-person shooters for the system. There's some nice gems here, and must-owns, so if you're looking to beef up your FPS library on the Switch, this should help you out. Anyway, you better hang on, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let's dive right into this list of my top 10 first-person shooters for the Nintendo Switch. We're kicking things off with a blockbuster. Doom, otherwise known as Doom 2016, was one of the early Impossible ports for the system. Visually, it looks amazing for the system, and the fact that it can keep up with all the mayhem in game is mind-boggling. Yes, it's not nearly as pretty as the other console versions, this is true, but still the Switch version holds up nicely, even in handheld mode. I mean, it's still Doom here, and it's in all its glory. As far as gameplay goes, it's super fun chaos. Blasting through hordes of enemies and using every weapon at your disposal is addicting. If you have never played this game in any shape or form, you're missing out on one awesome game. Switch owners were blessed again with its sequel. Doom Eternal improves upon the first game's combat, specifically enforcing players to use a variety of weapons and adding lots of platforming sections. In addition, it revamps the multiplayer mode from the previous game. Of course, it's darn good fun, and the Switch version is visually impressive. It's another Impossible port for the system. Both are must-play games and some of the best third-party games on the platform. The original Crysis was a game that I enjoyed many years ago. I love the combat in it, the guns, the ability to cloak, it was all good fun. I even liked the sci-fi nature of the game as it progressed. For those who know about Crysis, know how much of a beast it was for computers when it was released in 2007. It took a few years for the average consumer on PC to play the game at decent visuals. So even though it's been a number of years, when I first heard it was coming to Switch, I pretty much scoffed at the idea. But you know what? They made it work. It actually runs pretty well on the Switch, with a lot of good detail present in the game. Crysis is a pretty game on the Switch, and its gameplay is still pretty darn good fun, especially on the go. The effort in this port shows, and thus makes it one of the best FPS games on the Switch. While a good majority of first-person shooters out there for the Switch are by major companies, indies have provided some great first-person shooters too, and one of the best standouts is Superhot, and it might be the best of the bunch. The whole premise of Superhot is time only moves when you move. It actually makes the gameplay almost puzzle-like as you try to defeat enemies in the quickest, most effective, but still stylish manner. It becomes almost zen-like as you get into the groove of gameplay. If you have never experienced Superhot, you need to give this a go, especially on the Switch version, which is absolutely fantastic on the system. Bulletstorm is just one of those games that many people have seemed to have forgotten about. Heck, a lot of people don't even know that there was a version released for the Switch. I mean, it's practically a hidden gem of sorts. What makes Bulletstorm so much fun is that it totally embraces the chaotic gameplay. It's all about defeating enemies as you use your whip ability, interact with environments, and use one of the many awesome weapons in game. Remember how I was going on and how chaotic fun the Doom games were early in the video? This game has the same energy. The Switch version is an excellent way to play. It runs great, it looks great, and it's one heck of a shooter. Nothing beats a good collection, and the Borderlands Legendary Collection is one of the best on the Switch. Contains Borderlands Game of the Year Edition, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands Pre-Sequel, plus an absolutely metric ton of DLC released for those games. These are really awesome RPG first-person shooters, and they are absolutely fun to play. The Switch version runs great, absolutely no worries there, and if you're looking for some Borderlands on the go, this is a great way to do it. The massive amount of content in this collection of some of the best first-person shooters ever makes it a no-brainer to own. Likewise, a lot of that can be said for BioShock the Collection. This is 2K's other notable collection on the Switch. This contains BioShock Remastered, BioShock 2 Remastered, and BioShock Infinite the Complete Edition. These are first-person shooters with role-playing elements as well. For the first and arguably third entries, they are definitely worth experiencing at least once. I mean, chances are by now, you've heard the fantastic praise of these games. Anyway, the Switch version also runs just as fantastic as the Borderlands games, in both handheld and docked. Also something to note, both of these collections go on sale quite often, especially on the Nintendo Switch eShop, which if you haven't yet, make sure to check out the eShop Deals playlist on the channel, where I cover the latest and greatest deals on there. It's a great way to hear about some awesome games that you can get for super cheap. Metro Redux is a first-person shooter for those that enjoy horror or survivor horror games. Don't worry though, it's not too scary. Between the gameplay and pretty interesting plot, it really does keep you engaged with the game. The Switch version looks fantastic, but more importantly, the Redux version fixes just about all the issues from the original release. This makes this one of the best ways to enjoy this classic. It is just a tremendously high-quality game. The same can be said about Metro Last Light Redux. Again, the Redux version touches up all the issues from the original release, and it just looks great on the Switch. The story and environments really give this game and its prequel so much life. This game just feels like an experience, like something to witness, as opposed to other first-person shooters on this list that seem to be all about the action. Not that that is a bad thing. I guess what I'm getting at is if you're looking for games that are story-driven, that you want a little bit more in your FPS games, then both Metro Redux games are must-gets. And again, they are perfect on the Switch. Alien Isolation is a different type of first-person shooter. Unlike the others on the list, you really don't end up shooting for the majority of it. I mean, there is shooting in the game, but it's more about stealth, exploration, and survival. Regardless, it's fantastic, and it will scare the daylights out of you. Seriously, this is a horror game that actually delivers on the terror. The Switch version might be the best version released, with all the little improvements and graphical touches that make this a stellar version, where it ends up being better than the previous releases. Yep, for once, the Switch version outperforms the others. If you're willing to survive the horror, then this is a must-own. Quake is a classic FPS game that many gamers love to death. This version of Quake on the Switch is an enhanced version that was released last year, and this one might be my favorite version outside of their very obvious PC version. Quake has never looked this good, now being presented in full widescreen resolution support with enhanced models, dynamic lighting, and more. Seriously, it's impressive how much they have done to this game while maintaining the classic feel. The Switch version has two advantages, first being the fact that it is portable. I mean, that is a given, and Quake on the Go is freaking awesome, but it also has fantastic gyro support. Aiming with the gyro support enabled just feels so dang good and natural. Quake is a classic, and if you want to get it on a console, the Switch version is absolutely the way to do it. And you have reached the end. This is my list of what I think are the best first-person shooters on the Switch. For those that are watching, I have to ask, what are some of your favorite first-person shooter games on the Switch? Did I miss certain games? Is there ones that people overlook? Whatever it might be, make sure to share them in the comments. I am really looking forward to reading those responses. Now before I go, I do want to share a few thoughts. First of all, I would definitely want to see more first-person shooters on the Switch. Even though there is a number of them, I just feel like this style of game is just not nearly as tapped as other games on the Switch. Second, you probably noticed one thing about this list. Nearly all of them are ports. In some instances, they are ports from a few generations ago. Maybe it's just me, but I think it would be awesome to see more FPS games that are unique to the Switch. I just think it's untapped potential. At least that's what I feel. Anyway, if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It lets me know that you like it. And if you're not yet a subscriber, make sure to click on the subscribe button so you never miss out on any of the awesome videos I post each and every week on this channel. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.
Thank you.